Hello and welcome to Bookverse. I am so glad you are here today. Let me ask you something. Have you ever tried really hard at something, but still failed? Have you ever felt stuck? Like no matter what you do, nothing seems to change? Maybe you tried to lose weight. Maybe you tried to start a business. Maybe you tried to build better habits. You had the plan. You had the motivation. But something always got in the way. Do you know what that something is? It is not your effort. It is not your circumstances. It is not even bad luck. It is your belief. The things you believe about yourself, deep inside your mind, are controlling your whole life. And most people never even notice them. Today we are talking about a book that will change how you see yourself. The name of this book is Beyond Belief. The science-backed way to stop limiting yourself and achieve breakthrough result. It is written by Nir Eyal and Julie Lee, and it is a New York Times bestseller. This is not a book about positive thinking. This is not about just believing in yourself. This book is backed by real science, real psychology, real neuroscience. It shows you exactly how your hidden beliefs are working against you, and how to change them, step by step. By the end of this video, you will see yourself differently. You will understand why you have been stuck, and you will know exactly what to do about it. So stay with me. Let's begin. Chapter 1: Beliefs are tools, not truths. This chapter will change how you see yourself. It will change how you see your limit. And it will change what you think is possible for you. Let us begin. The author's story. Nir Eyal is the author of this book, and he starts this chapter with a very personal story. He takes us back to his childhood. He grew up in Central Florida, and every summer it was hot, very hot. All the other teenagers would go to the community pool. They would jump in the water. They would splash around. They would have fun. But Nir would not. He would sit on the edge of the pool, his feet dangling in the water, and he would keep his shirt on, an oversized t-shirt, in the middle of summer heat. Why? Because he was overweight as a child, and he believed something about himself. He believed that if he took his shirt off, people would laugh at him. He believed he was not good enough. He believed his body was something to hide. And so he sat there, every single summer, watching everyone else have fun, missing out, not because of his weight, but because of what he believed about his weight. That is the difference. That is the big idea of this whole book. Your limits are not coming from the outside. They are coming from inside your own mind. They are coming from what you believe. So what is a belief? Nir Eyal asks a very important question in this chapter. What is a belief? Most people have never stopped to think about this. We just believe things. We never ask, is this true? Or do I just think it is true? The book gives us three very clear definitions. The first is a fact. A fact is something that is true. You can prove it. You can test it. You can show the evidence. For example, the sun rises in the east. That is a fact. The second is faith. Faith is believing in something without any evidence. You cannot prove it. You just feel it deeply. That is faith. The third is belief. A belief is in the middle. A belief is an opinion that you hold as true. It can be informed by facts, but it does not need to be completely proven. And here is the most important part. A belief is open to change. When new evidence comes, a belief can be updated. A belief is not permanent. A belief is not fixed. Nir Eyal says, beliefs are tools, not truth. Read that again slowly. Beliefs are tools, not truths. A hammer is a tool. You pick it up when you need it. You put it down when you do not. A belief works the same way. When a belief helps you, use it. When a belief is hurting you, put it down. Pick up a better one. This is the most powerful idea in the entire book. The swimming rats experiment. Now let me tell you about one of the most fascinating experiments in this chapter. It is called the Richter swimming rats experiment. A scientist named Kurt Richter did this experiment. He took two groups of rats. He put both groups in containers of water, and he watched how long they swam before giving up. The first group had never been rescued before. They swam for just a few minutes. Then they gave up. They stopped swimming. They sank. Now the second group was different. Before putting them in the water, Richter did something special. He let them struggle for a little while, and then he reached in and rescued them. He held them. He let them rest, and then he put them back in the water. Now what happened? The second group swam, and swam, and swam. They swam for 240 times longer than the first group. 240 times. Not twice as long. Not 10 times as long. 240 times longer. Why? The second group had a belief. They believed that if they kept going, rescue would come. They had no proof. There was no guarantee. But they believed it. And that belief gave them the strength to keep swimming. Think about that. Two groups of rats. Same water. Same situation. But completely different result. All because of one thing. Belief. Now think about your own life. How many times have you stopped swimming? How many times have you given up? Not because you could not do it, but because you believed you could not. Limiting beliefs and liberating belief. This chapter introduces a framework that runs through the whole book. Nir Eyal calls it limiting beliefs and liberating belief. A limiting belief is a belief that holds you back. It is a belief that says, you cannot do this. You are not good enough. This is too hard for you. Things will not change. Young Nir sitting at the pool with his shirt on, that was a limiting belief. He believed people would judge him. He believed he was not acceptable, and that belief limited his life. A liberating belief is the opposite. It is a belief that opens doors. It is a belief that says, I can try this. I can grow. Things can change. If I keep going, something good can happen. The rescued rats had a liberating belief. They believed rescue was possible, and it gave them power. Here is what Nir Eyal wants you to understand. Both limiting beliefs and liberating beliefs feel real. They both feel like truth, but neither one is completely proven. They are both just belief. They are both tools, and you get to choose which tool you pick up. Beliefs can be changed. The most important message of this chapter is this: beliefs are not permanent. They are not locked inside you forever. They are not facts written in stone. They are learned. And anything that is learned can be unlearned. Nir Eyal eventually took his shirt off at the pool. Not because his body changed, but because his belief changed. He stopped seeing his body as something to hide. He stopped letting a limiting belief run his life. And when that belief changed, his experience of life changed. He started to participate. He started to show up. He started to live more fully. That is what a single belief shift can do. Imagine what happens when you start shifting many beliefs. Imagine what your life could look like. The book is going to show you exactly how to do this, step by step, with real science behind every single idea. No more sitting on the edge of the pool. No more watching others live while you hold back. Your limits are not real. They are learned. And you can unlearn them. That is the promise of this book. That is the power of going beyond belief. This was Chapter 1 of Beyond Belief by Nir Eyal. Subscribe to Bookverse for Chapter 2. And I will see you in the next one. Chapter 2. The First Power, Attention. Let me ask you something. Have you ever bought a new car? Or maybe thought about buying one? Let us say you decided you want a red car. And then suddenly you start seeing red cars everywhere. On the road. In parking lots. At traffic lights. Were all those red cars always there? Yes. They were always there. But you never noticed them before. Why? Because your brain was not looking for them. The moment your belief changed, your attention changed. And suddenly the world looked different. That is exactly what this chapter is about. Beliefs do not just change how you think. They change what you see. A man who felt no pain. Let me tell you a story that will stop you in your tracks. This is the story of Daniel Gisler. Daniel was a commodities trader in his 50s. He needed ankle surgery. The doctors had to remove screws from inside his ankle. Now normally this kind of surgery requires full anesthesia. You go to sleep. You feel nothing. You wake up when it is over. But Daniel did something extraordinary. He said no to anesthesia. No general anesthesia. No local anesthesia. Nothing. Not even a single painkiller. Instead, Daniel used something called hypnosedation. He used only the power of his own mind. The surgery began. The doctors cut into his ankle. They removed the screws. And Daniel lay there, calm and still. He felt no pain. He was completely awake. He was aware of everything happening around him. But the pain simply did not reach him. How is this possible? His belief changed what his brain paid attention to. His mind was trained to focus somewhere else. And because his attention shifted, the pain signals were blocked. Not by medicine. Not by a needle. By belief. This is the first power of belief. Nir Eyal calls it the power of attention. Your brain is not a camera. Most people think the brain works like a camera. You open your eyes and your brain records everything. Like a video. But that is not how it works. Not even close. Your brain receives around 11 million bits of information every single second. From your eyes, your ears, your skin, your nose. 11 million bits. Every second. But here is the thing. Your brain can only consciously process about 40 to 50 bits per second. That means your brain is ignoring almost everything. It is making choices about what to show you. And what decides those choices? Your belief. Your brain shows you what it expects to see. It filters everything else out. This filter is called a cognitive filter. And it is running every moment of every day. Without you even knowing. Cognitive filters. The invisible wall. Here is what a cognitive filter looks like in real life. Imagine two people walking into the same room. The first person believes there are no good people left in the world. The second person believes most people are kind and generous. They both walk into the exact same room. They meet the exact same people. But what do they experience? Completely different things. The first person notices rudeness. He notices people ignoring him. He notices coldness. The second person notices smiles. She notices people holding doors open. She notices warmth. Same room. Same people. Two completely different worlds. Why? Because their cognitive filters showed them different things. Their beliefs decided what they paid attention to. And what you pay attention to becomes your reality. This is not just a metaphor. This is neuroscience. Your brain is literally, physically wired to show you what you already believe. Hidden opportunities you cannot see. Here is where this gets really powerful. Think about your own life for a moment. How many opportunities have you missed? Not because they were not there, but because your beliefs filtered them out. Maybe you believed you were not smart enough for that job, so your brain never even let you properly consider it. Maybe you believed good relationships do not last, so your brain filtered out all the signs that someone cared for you. Maybe you believed success is for other people, so every time an opportunity came, your brain classified it as not for you, and you walked right past it. Nir Eyal says this is one of the most costly things a limiting belief does to you. It does not just make you feel bad, it makes you blind. Blind to opportunities, blind to solutions, blind to possibilities that are right in front of you. The opportunities were always there. Just like the red cars were always on the road. You just could not see them, because your belief was not looking for them. What happens when you shift the belief? Now here is the good news. The moment your belief changes, your attention changes. And the moment your attention changes, your whole world changes. This is what happened with Daniel Gisler. His belief about pain was different from most people. Most people believe surgery without anesthesia is impossible. Their brain confirms that belief. It pays attention to every signal of pain. It amplifies it. It screams it louder. But Daniel had trained himself to believe something different. He believed his mind could control his attention. He believed he could redirect his focus. And his brain obeyed. His attention went somewhere else, and the pain lost its power over him. You do not have to go into surgery without anesthesia. But you can use this exact same principle in your daily life. When you shift your belief about what is possible for you, your brain starts looking for evidence that it is true. And when your brain starts looking, it starts finding. Opportunities appear. Solutions appear. People appear. Not because the world changed, but because your attention changed. And your attention changed because your belief changed. This is the first power. The power of attention. Your belief decides what your eyes see. Your belief decides what your brain notices. Your belief decides what kind of world you wake up to every morning. Daniel Gisler did not feel pain because his mind was elsewhere. Your mind is somewhere right now too. The question is, where is your belief pointing it? Point it in a new direction, and watch what starts to appear. This was Chapter 2 of Beyond Belief. Chapter 3 is where things get even deeper. We are going to talk about the second power, the power of anticipation, and how your expectations are shaping your feelings before anything even happens. Stay with book verse. The next chapter will change how you feel about everything. Chapter 3. The second power, anticipation. Think about the last time you had to do something you hated. Maybe it was a long meeting at work. Maybe it was a workout you did not want to do. Maybe it was a difficult conversation you kept avoiding. Before it even started, you already felt drained. You already felt bored. You already felt tired. But here is the question. Nothing had happened yet. So where did that feeling come from? It did not come from the experience. It came from what you expected the experience to be. That is the second power of belief. Nir Eyal calls it the power of anticipation. And once you understand it, you will never feel the same way about your feelings again. The story of the sugar pill. There is a story in this book that is almost impossible to believe, but it is backed by real science. Doctors gave patients a sugar pill. Just sugar. No medicine inside. No active ingredient. Nothing real. The doctors told the patients, this pill will reduce your pain. And the patients believed them. And here is what happened. Their pain actually went away. Real pain. Physically gone. Not because of the pill. The pill had nothing in it. The pain went away because the patients believed it would go away. Their expectation created a real physical response in their bodies. This is called the placebo effect, and scientists have studied it for decades. It is not a trick. It is not imagination. It is your brain responding to what it believes is about to happen. Your brain releases real chemicals. Real signals go through your body. Real changes happen in your nervous system. All triggered by a belief. All triggered by an expectation. This is the power of anticipation. But wait, it gets darker. Now here is the other side of this. And this side is more important for your daily life. What happens when your expectation is negative? Scientists discovered something they called the nocebo effect. Nocebo is the opposite of placebo. Placebo means a positive belief creates a positive physical result. Nocebo means a negative belief creates a negative physical result. Let me give you an example. In one experiment, doctors told patients that a completely harmless substance would cause side effects. The patients believed them, and the side effects appeared. Real nausea, real headaches, real dizziness, from something that had zero ability to cause any of those things. The belief alone was enough to make the body sick. Think about that. A negative expectation produced a real physical symptom. Not in the mind, in the body. This is happening in your life right now. Every time you say, "This is going to be terrible," every time you say, "I always get tired at this point," every time you say, "This never works out for me," your brain takes that belief as a prediction, and then it works very hard to make that prediction come true. Your body follows your belief. Always. Your brain predicts before it experiences. Here is something that most people never learn about how the brain works. Your brain does not wait for something to happen before deciding how to feel about it. Your brain is always predicting, always running ahead, always preparing your body for what it thinks is about to come. Scientists call this predictive processing. It means your brain is constantly making forecasts based on your past experiences, based on your current belief, and based on what you expect, and then your body starts preparing for that forecast before anything actually happens. This is why you feel nervous before a presentation. Not during, before. Your brain predicted something difficult was coming, and your body started preparing with a racing heart and sweaty palms. This is also why two people can go into the exact same situation and feel completely different. One person walks into a job interview believing they are capable. Their brain predicts a positive interaction. Their body stays calm. Their voice is steady. Another person walks into the same interview believing they will fail. Their brain predicts something threatening. Their body sends alarm signals. Their voice shakes. Same room. Same questions. Two completely different experiences. The only difference was the belief each person walked in with. Boredom, tiredness, and difficulty are not what you think. This is one of the most powerful ideas in the entire book. Nir Eyal says boredom is not just something that happens to you. Boredom is a prediction. When you sit down to do a task and you already believe it is going to be boring, your brain prepares for boredom. It starts generating the feeling of boredom before you even begin. And then you feel bored. And you say, "See, I knew it would be boring." But the truth is you felt bored because you expected to feel bored. The same is true for tiredness. Research shows that people who believe a workout will exhaust them feel more tired than people who believe it will energize them. Even when both groups do the exact same workout, the tiredness was not from the exercise. The tiredness was from the belief about the exercise. And the same is true for difficulty. When you believe something is hard, your brain signals your body to brace for struggle. Your muscles tighten. your focus narrows, your confidence drops, and the task feels harder than it actually is. Not because it changed, because your anticipation of it changed your experience of it. So what do you do with this? You change the expectation before the experience. That is it. That is the whole move. Before you go into the difficult meeting, you say to yourself, something good can come from this. Before you start the hard workout, you say, my body is going to feel stronger after this. Before you begin the boring task, you say, there is something interesting here, if I look for it. You are not lying to yourself. You are simply choosing a different prediction. And your brain will begin to create a different experience. Because your brain always follows the forecast. Nir Eyal says your feelings are not random. They are not just happening to you. They are being shaped by what you believe is about to happen. Change the belief. Change the anticipation. And you will change what you feel. Daniel Gisler, from the last chapter, did not just change his attention. He also changed his anticipation. He did not walk into that surgery room expecting agony. He walked in expecting control. He expected his mind to be stronger than the pain. And so it was. His anticipation shaped his entire physical experience. And that is available to you in every moment of every day. You do not have to wait for your feelings to change before you change your belief. You change your beliefs first, and your feelings will follow. That is the second power. That is anticipation. This was Chapter 3 of Beyond Belief. In Chapter 4, we are going to talk about the third and final power, the power of agency. This is the chapter where you discover how much real control you actually have over your life. And the answer is going to surprise you. Stay connected to book verse, because Chapter 4 is where everything starts to come together. Chapter 4. The third power, agency. Imagine two people stuck in the same difficult situation. Same problem. Same pressure. Same circumstances. But one person fights back. They find solutions. They keep going. They refuse to quit. The other person shuts down. They feel helpless. They stop trying. They give up. What is the difference between these two people? It is not intelligence. It is not talent. It is not even willpower. The difference is one single belief. The belief about how much control they have over their own life. That belief is called agency. And it is the third and most powerful power of belief. Are you the captain or the passenger? Nir Eyal talks about something called the locus of control. Locus simply means location. The locus of control is where you believe control over your life lives. Some people have what scientists call an internal locus of control. These people believe their choices matter. They believe their actions shape their outcomes. They believe they have real power over what happens to them. These are the captains. They steer the ship. They make decisions. They take responsibility. Other people have what scientists call an external locus of control. These people believe the world controls them. They believe luck decides everything. They believe other people or circumstances or fate is in charge. These are the passengers. They sit back. They wait. They blame. Now here is the important thing. Both of these beliefs are just belief. Neither is fully proven. Neither is completely true or completely false. But the outcomes of these two beliefs are completely different. Research shows that people with an internal locus of control are healthier, wealthier, and happier. They recover faster from setbacks. They achieve more. They live longer. Not because the world gave them more, but because their belief made them more capable. The experiment that changed everything. Now let us go back to a very important experiment. You heard about Richter and his rats in Chapter 1. But let us go deeper into what that experiment actually proved. Richter put rats in containers of water. The first group had never been rescued before. They swam for a short time, and then they gave up. They stopped fighting. They accepted that nothing they did would change their situation. Their belief was, I have no control here. So they stopped trying. Now the second group was different. Before the experiment, Richter rescued these rats. He let them struggle, and then he reached in and pulled them out. He gave them rest, and then he put them back in the water, and this group swam for 240 times longer. 240 times. Why? Because rescue had come before. So they believed it could come again. They believed their struggling mattered. They believed they had some control over what happened to them. And that belief physically changed what their bodies were capable of. Same water, same bodies, but 240 times more endurance. All from one belief. The belief that what they did actually mattered. That is agency. Learned helplessness, the silent killer. Now let us talk about the darker side of this. What happens when a person believes they have no control? Scientists call this learned helplessness, and it is one of the most damaging things a belief can do to a human being. Here is how it happens. Something goes wrong in your life. You try to fix it. It does not work. You try again. Still does not work. You try a third time. Nothing changes. And slowly your brain starts forming a conclusion. Nothing I do makes a difference. I am stuck. I cannot change this. And then something terrible happens. The brain starts applying that conclusion to everything. Not just the one situation where you failed. Everything. You stop trying at work. You stop trying in relationship. You stop trying to improve your health. Because somewhere deep in your belief system a message is running. It says, what is the point? You cannot do anything about it anyway. This is learned helplessness. And Nir Eyal is very clear about one thing. It is learned. That word is important. Because if it was learned, it can be unlearned. Nobody is born helpless. Nobody is born without agency. Helplessness is a belief that was taught by experience. And like any belief, it can be replaced. Agency changes your body, not just your mind. Here is something that science has proven clearly. The feeling of control does not just change how you think. It physically changes what your body can do. In one study, people were given the exact same stressful task. One group was told they had no way to stop or control it. The other group was told they could press a button to stop it at any time. But here is the twist. The second group never actually pressed the button. They just knew they could. And that knowledge alone changed everything. Their stress levels were lower. Their performance was better. Their bodies handled the pressure more effectively. They did not use the control. They just believed they had it, and that belief changed their physical experience. This is what agency does. It does not require you to be in perfect control. It just requires you to believe that what you do matters, that you have some say, that your choices make a difference. And when you believe that, your brain shifts into a completely different mode. It stops shutting down. It starts looking for options. It starts problem solving. It starts fighting. You are not stuck You are just believing you are stuck. Think about your own life right now. Is there an area where you feel helpless? Maybe it is your career. Maybe it is your health. Maybe it is your finances. Maybe it is a relationship. And ask yourself honestly, is that helplessness real? Or is it a belief you learned somewhere along the way? Did someone tell you you could not do it? Did something fail once and you decided it would always fail? Did life get hard and your brain concluded this is just how it is? Because if it is learned, you can change it. You are not the passenger. You were never the passenger. You just believed you were. The captain's seat has been empty this whole time, waiting for you. Nir Eyal is very clear. Your limits are not facts. They are belief. And beliefs are tools. You can put down the tool that is hurting you. You can pick up a better one. The rescued rats did not become stronger because their bodies changed. They became stronger because their belief changed. And you can do the same. This was Chapter 4 of Beyond Belief. All three powers of belief have now been introduced: attention, anticipation, and agency. These three powers are running in your life every single day. The question is, are they working for you or against you? In Chapter 5, we go even deeper. We are going to learn exactly how to identify the limiting beliefs that are quietly holding you back, and the exact method to replace them with liberating belief. Chapter 5 is where the real change begins. Stay with book verse. You do not want to miss it. Chapter 5. Limiting beliefs versus liberating belief. There is a door standing right in front of you. On the other side of that door is the life you want. Better health, better work, better relationships, more confidence, more success. The door is not locked. It was never locked. But something is stopping you from opening it, and that something is a limiting belief. Today we are going to talk about exactly how to find it, and exactly how to replace it with something better. This is the switch framework, and it is one of the most practical and powerful tools in this entire book. What a limiting belief actually looks like. Most people think their limiting beliefs are big dramatic thoughts, like I will never be successful, or I am completely worthless. But that is not how limiting beliefs usually work. They are quieter than that. They are sneaky. They hide inside ordinary thoughts. Thoughts you have every single day. Thoughts like, I am just not a morning person. Or I have always been bad with money. Or I am not the kind of person who exercises regularly. Or things like this never work out for me. These thoughts feel completely normal. They feel like facts. They feel like descriptions of who you are. But they are not facts. They are belief. And beliefs, as you now know, are tools. And some of these tools are broken. Nir Eyal says the first step is simply to notice them. You cannot change what you cannot see. So the work begins with awareness. How to find the belief that is holding you back. Here is a simple way to identify a limiting belief in your own life. Think of one area where you keep struggling. One area where you try but things never seem to change. Maybe it is your fitness. Maybe it is your finances. Maybe it is speaking up in a room full of people. Now ask yourself this question. What do I believe about this area of my life? Not what do I hope. Not what do I wish. What do I actually believe deep down? Write it down if you can. Because when you write it down, something important happens. The belief moves from inside your head to outside of it. And the moment it is outside your head, you can look at it, you can examine it, you can question it, and that is when the power of it begins to shrink. Nir Eyal is very clear about one thing here. A limiting belief always has a cost. It is costing you something: time, energy, opportunity, joy. And you deserve to know exactly what it is taking from you. Belief testing, the most powerful exercise in this book. Now here is the most practical and exciting idea in this entire chapter. Nir Eyal calls it belief testing, and it is beautifully simple. Pick one thing you have been avoiding, one thing you have told yourself will not work for you. Maybe it is waking up early. Maybe it is asking for a raise. Maybe it is starting a business. Maybe it is going to the gym. Whatever it is, you have a belief about it. A belief that says, this is not for me. Or this will not work. Or I will fail at this. Now here is what you do. You try it once. Just once. Not to prove yourself right. Not to prove yourself wrong. With genuine curiosity. Like a scientist running an experiment. A scientist does not go into an experiment hoping for a specific result. A scientist goes in to collect data. So you go in to collect data. And what you will often find is something surprising. The experience is nothing like what your belief told you it would be. You expected it to be terrible, and it was fine. You expected to fail, and you managed. You expected to hate it, and you did not. This single experiment creates a crack in the limiting belief, because now your brain has new evidence, and beliefs are open to new evidence. Remember from Chapter 1. A belief is an opinion that can be updated. Belief testing is how you update it. Reframing, same situation, completely new meaning. Now let us talk about another powerful tool in the switch framework. It is called reframing. Reframing means taking the exact same situation and choosing to see it in a different way. Nothing about the situation changes. Only the meaning you give it changes. Here is a simple example. You apply for a job and you do not get it. A limiting belief says, I am not good enough. I will never succeed. This always happens to me. A liberating belief says, this was not the right fit. I learned something from this process. I am one step closer to finding the right opportunity. Same situation. Two completely different meanings. And those two meanings create two completely different futures. The person with the limiting belief stops applying. The person with the liberating belief applies again. One rejection became two different stories. And those stories led to two different lives. Nir Eyal says you are always telling yourself a story. About every situation. About every failure. About every setback. The question is not whether you are telling a story. The question is whether the story is helping you or hurting you. And if it is hurting you, you can choose a different story. A truer story. Because a liberating belief is not a lie. It is simply a more useful interpretation of something that has not been fully decided yet. From limiting to liberating, the actual switch. Here is how the switch framework actually works in practice. You take a limiting belief, and you write it down. Then you ask yourself, what would a liberating version of this belief look like? For example, limiting belief, I am terrible at public speaking. Liberating belief, I am still developing my public speaking skills. Limiting belief, I always struggle with money. Liberating belief, I am learning to make better financial decisions. Limiting belief, I am not smart enough for that level of work. Liberating belief, I have not developed those skills yet. Notice the pattern. The liberating belief does not claim that everything is perfect. It does not say you are already amazing. It says you are in process. You are learning. You are growing. And that is honest. And it is something your brain can actually accept, because your brain resists obvious lies. But it can accept the possibility of growth. And that possibility is enough to open the door. Here is what Nir Eyal wants you to take from this chapter. Every single limiting belief has a liberating version. Every single one. And the distance between them is not as far as you think. You do not have to completely transform overnight. You just have to switch the tool you are using. Put down the belief that is hurting you. Pick up the one that helps you. Test it once. See what the evidence says. And let your brain start building a new story. A story where you are not stuck. A story where the door is open. A story where what you do actually matters. Because it does. It always did. You just needed a better belief to see it. This was Chapter 5 of Beyond Belief. Chapter 6 is coming next. And it is going to show you something that will genuinely stop you in your track. We are going to look at what beliefs do to your physical body, your health, your healing, your pain. The science in Chapter 6 is unlike anything most people have ever heard before. Stay connected to book verse. Chapter 6 is one you absolutely cannot skip. Chapter 6. Beliefs and your body. Your body is always listening. Not to the world around you, to you, to what you believe, to what you expect, to what you tell yourself about your own health, and what it hears it acts on. This chapter is going to show you something that most people never learn in school, something that doctors are only beginning to fully understand. Your beliefs are not just mental events, they are physical events. They happen in your body, in your cells, in your immune system, in your nervous system, and they can heal you, or they can hurt you, depending on what you choose to believe. The man who helped cure his own disease. This is one of the most remarkable stories in the entire book. His name is David Fajgenbaum. David was a medical student. Young, strong, and full of ambition. And then his body started shutting down. He lost 35 pounds. His organs began to fail. He was admitted to the ICU 5 times. 5 times doctors were not sure he would make it. The disease he had was called Castleman disease. It is extremely rare. And at that time there was no known cure. Doctors were doing everything they could, but nothing was working. David was dying, and he knew it. But David did not accept helplessness. Even from his hospital bed, he refused to believe that nothing could be done. He had a belief, a liberating belief. He believed that if he looked hard enough, he could find something that no one else had found yet. So he did something extraordinary. He started researching his own disease. From inside the hospital, while he was sick, while he was afraid, he analyzed his own blood samples. He studied the data. He looked at existing cancer drugs in a completely new way. And he found something, a drug that had never been tried for his condition. He brought the idea to his doctors. They tried it, and it worked. David Fajgenbaum went from dying in the ICU to being in remission. He later founded an organization dedicated to finding cures for rare diseases. And all of it started with one belief: the belief that something could be done. That belief kept him searching, and that search saved his life. What beliefs do to your immune system? Now let us look at the science behind what happened with David. Because it is not just about determination. There is real biology here. Scientists have discovered a field of study called psychoneuroimmunology. That is a long word, but the meaning is simple. It means your psychology, your nervous system, and your immune system are all connected. They talk to each other. They influence each other constantly. When you believe you are going to get better, your brain sends signals to your immune system. It releases certain hormones. It activates certain pathways. Your body starts working harder to heal itself. But when you believe you will not recover, the opposite happens. Your brain sends different signals. Your immune system gets weaker. Your body starts preparing for the worst. Research has shown that patients who believe in their recovery heal faster. They respond better to treatment. They experience less pain. They leave hospitals sooner. Not because of luck, because their beliefs changed their biology. The surgery with no medicine. You already heard about Daniel Gisler in Chapter 2. The man who had ankle surgery with no anesthesia. But let us revisit this from a different angle, because it directly connects to this chapter. Daniel did not just block the pain signals in his mind. His belief changed what his nervous system was doing. His brain was not sending the same alarm signals that it normally would. His body was not flooding itself with stress hormones. His wounds actually healed faster, because his body was not under the same level of physical stress. This is not a coincidence. This is the body following the belief. When the mind believes everything is under control, the body performs better. When the mind believes this is catastrophic, the body struggles. Same surgery, completely different biological experience, all because of belief. When negative beliefs make you physically sick, now let us talk about something very important, something that most people never connect to their health. Nocebo. You learned about this briefly in Chapter 3. But let us go deeper. Because the nocebo effect is one of the most powerful and dangerous forces quietly working in many people's lives. Nocebo means a negative belief produces a real negative physical result. Here is a real example from medical research. Doctors told patients that a completely harmless substance would cause them to feel nauseous. The patients believed it, and they felt nauseous. No medicine, no chemical, just a belief, and a real physical symptom followed. Now think about what this means for everyday life. When someone repeatedly says, "I always get sick in winter," their brain takes that as a forecast and starts preparing the body for illness. When someone says, "Stress always gives me headache," their brain creates the exact conditions for a headache when stress arrives. When someone believes their body is weak and fragile, their body begins to behave like it is weak and fragile. Nir Eyal is very clear. Your body is not making random decisions. It is following instructions. And those instructions are coming from your belief. You are not just a body, you are a belief system. Here is what all of this adds up to. Your body and your mind are not two separate things. They are one connected system. And at the center of that system are your beliefs. What you believe about your health shapes your health. What you believe about your ability to heal shapes your ability to heal. What you believe about pain shapes how much pain you feel. This does not mean beliefs cure everything. It does not mean you should stop seeing doctors. Medical treatment is real and important, but your beliefs work alongside every treatment you receive. They can amplify the healing, or they can slow it down. David Fajgenbaum did not stop going to doctors. He used doctors. He used science. He used medicine. But underneath all of it was a belief that something could be done. And that belief changed everything. So what is your body currently hearing from you? What are you telling it about your health every single day? Are you telling it that you are tired all the time? Are you telling it that you always get sick? Are you telling it that recovery is not possible for you? Or are you telling it that it is strong, that it is capable, that it is healing, that it is doing its best, and you believe in it? The words you use about your own body matter more than most people realize, because your body is always listening, and it is always doing exactly what it believes you expect it to do. Start expecting better. Start believing in what your body is capable of, because it is capable of far more than you have been telling it. This was Chapter 6 of Beyond Belief. In Chapter 7, we are going to shift focus from the body to the mind. We are going to look at how beliefs affect your focus, your attention, your anxiety. And we are going to talk about something very few people ever question: the labels we carry, the diagnoses we accept, and how those labels quietly become the walls of our life. Stay connected to Book Verse. Chapter 7 is where you start to question everything you have been told about your own mind. Chapter 7. Beliefs and Your Mind. Someone told you something about yourself once. Maybe it was a teacher. Maybe it was a doctor. Maybe it was a parent. Maybe it was someone you trusted completely. And they said something like, "You have trouble focusing," or "You are an anxious person," or "You are just wired differently." And you heard it, and you believed it, and from that moment something changed. Not your brain. Your belief about your brain. And that belief became a wall you stopped trying to climb over, because you were told it was just who you are. This chapter is about what happens when we let labels become our limit. The danger of a label. Labels feel helpful at first. When you get a diagnosis, it feels like relief. Finally, a name for what you have been experiencing. Finally, an explanation. And that is real. That relief is real. Some diagnoses open doors to real help, real support, real treatment. That matters. But Nir Eyal points to something important that most people miss. A label does not just describe something. A label creates something. The moment you accept a label about yourself, your brain starts organizing your entire experience around that label. It becomes a filter, just like the cognitive filter we talked about in Chapter 2. Your brain starts looking for evidence that the label is true, and it finds it every single day, because that is what brains do. They find what they look for. And the more they find, the more the label feels like a permanent truth. Until one day you stop saying, "I have ADHD," and you start saying, "I am ADHD." And that one word, that one shift, changes everything. What the research says about ADHD and belief. Nir Eyal does not dismiss ADHD. He is very clear about that. ADHD is real. The research is real. The struggles are real. But here is what the research also shows. People with ADHD can focus deeply on things they find genuinely interesting. For hours. Without any difficulty. So the question becomes, is this really a focus disorder? Or is it a belief disorder? A belief that says I cannot focus. And that belief shuts the brain down before it even tries. Studies have shown that when people with ADHD are placed in environments where they believe they can succeed, their performance improves dramatically. When they are told their brain works differently but not worse, something shifts. The ceiling they believed was there begins to disappear. This does not mean medication is wrong. This does not mean support is not needed. It means that the belief wrapped around the diagnosis is just as powerful as the diagnosis itself. And the belief can be changed. Identity labels, the ones we wear every day. ADHD is one label, but there are so many others. I am an anxious person. I am not a morning person. I am bad at math. I am not creative. I am an introvert, so I cannot lead. I am just not disciplined enough. These labels do not come from doctors. They come from experiences, from failures, from things people said, from patterns we noticed once or twice and then decided were permanent. And here is what Nir Eyal wants you to understand. Every time you say, I am something, you are not just describing yourself. You are instructing yourself. Your brain hears that as a command. It takes it seriously. It builds your experience around it. So if you say, I am bad at focusing, your brain makes sure you struggle to focus. If you say, I am always anxious, your brain stays on high alert, looking for things to be anxious about. If you say, I am just not a confident person, your brain filters out every moment where you actually were confident. The label becomes the lens. And the lens decides what you see. And what you see becomes what you believe. And what you believe becomes who you are. That is the cycle. And it starts with a label. Anxiety does not come from situations. This is one of the most important ideas in this entire chapter. And it is one that most people have completely backwards. Most people believe that anxiety is caused by situations. A big presentation causes anxiety. A difficult conversation causes anxiety. A crowded room causes anxiety. But Nir Eyal points to research that shows something different. Anxiety does not come from situations. Anxiety comes from beliefs about situations. Here is the proof. Take two people and put them in the exact same situation. A large room full of strangers. One person walks in believing this is exciting. New people to meet. New conversations to have. New opportunities. Their brain reads the situation as a positive challenge. Their heart rate goes up, but it feels like excitement. The other person walks in believing this is threatening. People will judge me. I will not know what to say. I will embarrass myself. Their brain reads the same situation as a danger. Their heart rate goes up and it feels like anxiety. Same room. Same people. Same heart rate. Two completely different experiences. The situation did not create the anxiety. The belief about the situation did. And beliefs can be changed. Focus goes where belief points. Here is something simple but deeply important. Your focus follows your belief. Always. If you believe a task is meaningful, your brain focuses on it. If you believe a task is pointless, your brain pulls away from it. If you believe you are capable of doing something, your brain stays engaged. If you believe you will fail at it anyway, your brain starts looking for an exit. This is not laziness. This is not weakness. This is your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is protecting your energy. It is directing your attention toward what it believes is worth your time. So when you cannot focus, the first question is not what is wrong with me? The first question is, what do I believe about this task right now? Do I believe it matters? Do I believe I can do it? Do I believe something good will come from it? Because if the belief is there, the focus will follow. And if the belief is not there, no productivity tip, no app, no system in the world will fix it. You have to change the belief first. Then the focus comes. You are not the label. Here is what Nir Eyal wants you to walk away with from this chapter. You are not the label someone gave you. You are not the diagnosis that was placed on you. You are not the story that someone else wrote about your brain. You are a person with a belief system, and belief systems can be updated. The student who was told he could not focus went on to build a company. The person who was told she was too anxious went on to speak on stages. The child who was told he was bad at math went on to study engineering. Not because the labels were wrong about everything, but because they chose not to let the label be the final word. They found a liberating belief, a belief that said, I am still growing. I am still learning. This is not my ceiling. This is just where I am right now. And that belief opened the door. The same door is open for you. You just have to stop using the label as a reason to stay outside. This was Chapter 7 of Beyond Belief. Chapter 8 is next, and we are moving into one of the most personal areas of everyone's life. We are going to talk about beliefs and relationships, about how what you believe about other people and about yourself shapes every connection you have in your life. And Nir Eyal gives us 4 simple questions that can strengthen any relationship. Stay connected to book verse. Chapter 8 is one you will want to share with someone you care about. Chapter 8. Beliefs and your relationships. Think about the most important relationship in your life right now. A partner, a friend, a parent, a colleague. Now ask yourself honestly, what do you believe about that person? Do you believe they are trying their best? Do you believe they care about you? Do you believe they are capable of change? Or do you believe they will always disappoint you? That they never really listen? That they are selfish? That things between you will never truly improve? Because here is something that most people never realize. Your relationship is not just shaped by what the other person does. It is shaped by what you believe about what they do. And those two things are very different. This chapter is about one of the most powerful and personal areas that belief touches. Your relationships. Every relationship runs on beliefs. Every single relationship you have is built on a set of beliefs. Beliefs about the other person. Beliefs about yourself. Beliefs about what relationships are supposed to look like. Beliefs about whether you deserve love and connection. And most of these beliefs were formed long before you even met the people who are in your life right now. They were formed in childhood, from watching your parents, from early friendship, from the first time someone let you down badly, from the first time someone made you feel truly seen and valued. And those early experiences built a belief system that now runs quietly in the background of every relationship you have. Nir Eyal says if you want to understand why your relationships are the way they are, do not start by looking at the other person. Start by looking at your beliefs about the other person, because what you believe will shape everything. What you notice, what you ignore, how you respond, how you react, what you expect, and what you ultimately get back. When your belief becomes their behavior, Here is one of the most fascinating ideas in this entire chapter, and it is backed by real research. When you hold a strong belief about how someone will behave, they often start to behave that way. Not because they read your mind, but because of how your belief changes your behavior toward them. Let us say you believe your colleague is lazy. You stop giving them important responsibilities. You stop involving them in key decisions. You stop encouraging them. And they notice this. They feel undervalued. They lose motivation. They start doing less. And you say, "See, I knew they were lazy." But you created it. Your belief changed how you treated them. And how you treated them changed how they behaved. This works the other way too. When you believe someone is capable, you treat them differently. You give them more responsibility. You trust them with harder tasks. You encourage them when they struggle. And they rise. They grow. They become more of what you believed they could be. Psychologists call this the Pygmalion effect. Your expectations of another person influence their performance. Your belief literally shapes their behavior. This is one of the most important reasons to examine what you believe about the people you care about. Because your belief is not just sitting quietly in your own head. It is flowing out through everything you say and do. And it is landing on the people around you. The 4 questions that change everything. Nir Eyal shares 4 simple questions in this chapter. Questions that can genuinely transform any relationship, not because they are magical, but because they bring beliefs to the surface. And once beliefs are on the surface, they can be examined. And once examined, they can be changed. Here are the 4 questions. The first question is, what do I believe about this person? Not what do they do wrong. Not what frustrates me. What do I actually believe about who they are at their core? Write it down honestly. Because sometimes when you write it down, you realize the belief is far more negative than you ever consciously admitted. The second question is this belief helping or hurting this relationship? This is simple. Is what I believe making things better? Or is it quietly making things worse? The third question is, what would a more generous belief look like? Not a fake belief. Not pretending everything is perfect, but a more generous interpretation. Maybe instead of, they never listen to me, the generous belief is, they are struggling to communicate right now, but they care about me. Maybe instead of, they are selfish, the generous belief is, they are dealing with things I do not fully understand. A more generous belief does not ignore problems, creates more space for solutions. And the fourth question is, what would I do differently if I believed this more generous version? Because behavior follows belief. If you believed your partner was doing their best, how would you speak to them? If you believed your friend genuinely cared, how would you approach them? If you believed your colleague was capable, how would you treat them? These 4 questions are not about letting people off the hook. They are about releasing the belief that is quietly poisoning the connection. The belief you carry about yourself in relationships. There is another layer here, and it might be the most important one. It is not just what you believe about other people. It is what you believe about yourself in relationship. Do you believe you are worthy of love? Do you believe people will eventually leave you? Do you believe you always end up getting hurt? Do you believe you are too much or not enough? Because these beliefs are running in every relationship you have. They decide how much you open up, how much you trust, how quickly you pull away when things get difficult, how easily you assume the worst when someone goes quiet. Nir Eyal says the most damaging relationship beliefs are often the ones we carry about ourselves, not about the other person, about ourselves. And these beliefs were almost always formed in moments of pain. A time when you were abandoned, a time when you were rejected, a time when you opened up and got hurt, and your brain said, "This is how relationships work. This is what I should expect." But those moments were not evidence of a permanent truth. They were experiences, and experiences do not define what is possible. They only define what has happened so far. Better relationships start with better beliefs. Here is the truth that this chapter builds toward. The relationship you want already exists on the other side of a belief shift. You do not need a perfect partner to have a better relationship. You do not need everything to be fixed before things improve. You need a more liberating belief. A belief that says this person is doing their best. A belief that says connection is possible even through difficulty. A belief that says I am worthy of being truly known and truly loved. A belief that says things between us can get better. That belief changes your words. Your words change the atmosphere between you. The atmosphere changes how the other person feels around you. And how they feel changes how they behave. All of it starts with what you believe. Not with them. With you. That is both the most challenging truth in this chapter. And the most empowering one, because it means you do not have to wait for someone else to change. You can start right now, with a belief. This was Chapter 8 of Beyond Belief. Chapter 9 is coming next, and it is going to take us into one of the most surprising and science-backed areas of the entire book. We are going to talk about aging. About how the beliefs you carry about getting older are literally affecting how long you live, and how strong you feel, and how sharp your mind stays. The research in Chapter 9 is some of the most powerful in the whole book. Stay connected to book verse. Chapter 9 is where you discover that even time responds to belief. Chapter 9. Beliefs and Aging. How old do you feel right now? Not how many years you have been alive. How old do you actually feel on the inside? Some people at 60 feel young, sharp, and full of energy. They wake up excited. They are learning new things. They are building new goals. They feel like life still has so much ahead of it. And some people at 30 feel worn out. They feel like their best days are already behind them. They feel slow. They feel tired. They feel like growing older is just a slow process of losing things. These two people are not having different experiences because of their age. They are having different experiences because of their beliefs about age. And those beliefs are doing something far more powerful than most people ever imagine. They are changing how long these people live, and how well. The science that surprised everyone. Nir Eyal talks about a landmark study in this chapter. It was conducted by researcher Becca Levy at Yale University. She studied hundreds of people over a long period of time. She measured one thing: what people believed about growing older. Did they see aging as a positive experience? A time of wisdom, growth, and continued purpose? Or did they see aging as a negative experience? A time of decline, weakness, and loss? And then she tracked what happened to their health. And the results were extraordinary. People who held positive beliefs about aging lived on average 7.5 years longer. 7.5 years. Not a few months. Not 1 or 2 years. 7.5 years. Just from a belief. This was not about how healthy they were at the start of the study. It was not about how wealthy they were. or what country they lived in. The single biggest predictor of how long they lived was what they believed about getting older. Positive aging beliefs were a more powerful predictor of longevity than low blood pressure, more powerful than low cholesterol, more powerful than not smoking, more powerful than maintaining a healthy weight. A belief outlasting all of that. What aging beliefs do to your body. Here is the science behind why this happens. When you believe aging means decline, your brain treats aging as a threat. Every birthday becomes evidence of something being lost. Your brain shifts into a low-level stress response. Slowly, quietly, day by day. And that chronic low-level stress wears on the body. It weakens the immune system. It affects the heart. It slows recovery. It accelerates the very decline the person believed was coming. The belief created the biology. But when you believe aging is a journey of growth and experience, your brain responds differently. It does not treat time as a threat. It treats it as something valuable. And the body follows that signal. It stays stronger. It stays more resilient. It heals more effectively. It performs better for longer. Not because time is working differently, because the belief about time is working differently. Physical limits are mostly learned. Here is something important that this chapter drives home. Most of the physical limits people believe they have are not real. They are learned. They were taught by someone else's experience, or by a cultural idea about what people of a certain age should be able to do. You hear things like, "At your age you cannot do that anymore," or "People in their 50s do not start over," or "You are too old to learn something new." And slowly, without realizing it, you accept these as facts. You stop trying things. You stop pushing. You start managing expectations. You start getting smaller. But Nir Eyal is very clear. These are beliefs, not facts. And the research backs this up completely. Studies have shown that older adults, who are exposed to positive aging messages, perform better on memory tests, better balance, faster walking speed, stronger grip strength, all from simply changing the belief they were operating from. The physical capability was always there. The belief just needed to change to unlock it. The man who moved a mountain. Now let me tell you about one of the most powerful stories in this entire book. It is the story of Dashrath Manji. Dashrath was a poor laborer living in a small village in India. His village was cut off from the nearest town by a large mountain. To get to town, to see a doctor, to get medicine, or to get basic supplies, people had to walk around the mountain. A journey of about 55 kilometers. One day, Dashrath's wife fell seriously ill. She needed medical help urgently. But by the time they made the long journey around the mountain, it was too late. She did not survive. And in his grief, Dashrath made a decision. He was going to cut a road through that mountain. By himself. With a hammer, a chisel, and a crowbar. People thought he had lost his mind. "This is impossible," they said. "One man cannot do this. You do not have the tools. You do not have the skills. You do not have the money. Give up." But Dashrath had something more powerful than tools. He had a belief that this could be done. A belief that his effort would matter. A belief that if he kept going, the mountain would eventually give way. And so he worked, every single day, in the heat, in the cold, through exhaustion, through doubt, through people laughing at him. He worked for 22 years. 22 years, with simple hand tools, and at the end of those 22 years, he had cut a road through the mountain. A road that reduced the journey to town from 55 kilometers to just 15. A road that, to this day, serves thousands of people. One man. One belief. 22 years. And a mountain that moved. Dashrath Manji was not superhuman. He was not specially gifted. He did not have extraordinary resources. He had one thing. He believed it was possible. And he refused to let anyone else's belief become his own. Your age is not your limit. Here is what Nir Eyal wants you to take from this chapter. Your age is not your enemy. It is not evidence of what you can no longer do. It is simply a number of years that have passed. What you do with those years depends entirely on what you believe about them. You can believe that every year makes you more capable, more experienced, more resilient, more wise. Or you can believe that every year takes something away. And whichever belief you choose, your brain will confirm it. Your body will follow it. Your life will reflect it. The research is clear. Positive aging beliefs add years to your life. They keep your body stronger. They keep your mind sharper. They keep you engaged, curious, and purposeful. And you do not have to be young to start believing this. You can start today. Right now. At whatever age you are reading this. Because Dashrath Manji did not start cutting the mountain when he was young. He started when he was broken. When he had lost someone. When everything around him said this is impossible. He started anyway. Because he believed. And the mountain moved. Your mountain can move too. You just have to pick up the belief first. And then the hammer. This was Chapter 9 of Beyond Belief. We have one chapter left. Chapter 10 is the final one. And it brings everything we have learned together. All three powers. All the frameworks. All the stories. Into one clear, final message. A message about what happens when you stop letting old beliefs decide your future. And start choosing the beliefs that take you further. Stay connected to book verse. Chapter 10 is where everything comes together. And where your real journey begins. Chapter 10. Beyond Belief. You have made it to the final chapter. And before we begin, I want you to stop, for just a moment. Think about where you were before this book. Think about the beliefs you were carrying. The ones you never questioned. The ones that felt so permanent, so fixed, so much like fact. The belief that your limits were real. The belief that certain things were just not meant for you. The belief that how you were was how you would always be. Now think about what you know today. Beliefs are tools, not truths. They can be picked up, and they can be put down. And everything in your life is shaped by which ones you choose to carry. This final chapter is not just a summary. It is a beginning. Because understanding something and actually living it are two very different things. And Nir Eyal saves his most important message for right here at the end. The three powers working together. Throughout this book, you learned about three powerful forces. The first was attention. Your beliefs decide what you see. They filter your world. They show your brain what to look for. And your brain finds exactly that. If you believe opportunities are everywhere, your brain spots them. If you believe the world is against you, your brain confirms that too. The second was anticipation. Your beliefs decide what you feel. Before anything happens. Before a single word is spoken. Before a single step is taken. Your brain has already made a prediction. And your body has already started preparing for that prediction. Change the belief. Change the prediction. Change the feeling. The third was agency. Your beliefs decide what you can do. The sense of control that you carry physically changes what your body and mind are capable of. The rescued rats swam 240 times longer. Not because they were stronger. Because they believed their effort mattered. Now here is the most important thing about these three powers. They do not work one at a time. They work together. All at once. Every single moment of every single day. When you walk into a difficult situation with a liberating belief, all three powers shift. Your attention starts looking for solutions. Your anticipation starts preparing you for a positive outcome. Your agency tells your brain that what you do here matters. And suddenly you are a completely different person in that room. Not because the room changed, because you changed, because your beliefs changed. The gap between knowing and doing. Here is something Nir Eyal is very honest about. Most people who read a book like this feel inspired. They nod along. They highlight sentences. They feel like something big is shifting inside them. And then they close the book and go back to the same beliefs they started with. Not because they are lazy. Not because they did not understand. But because understanding a belief and actually replacing it are two very different skills. You can know that a limiting belief is holding you back, and still feel its pull every single day. You can know that you are capable of more, and still hesitate every time an opportunity arrives. You can know that your thoughts shape your reality, and still catch yourself thinking the same dark thoughts you have always thought. This is normal. This is human. And Nir Eyal does not judge it. But he is also clear. Knowing is not enough. You need a system, a daily practice, a way of catching the limiting belief the moment it appears, and replacing it with a liberating one before it takes hold. Belief testing as a daily habit. The most practical tool from this entire book is belief testing. And in this final chapter, Nir Eyal asks you to make it a habit. Not something you do once. Not something you try when things get desperate. A daily practice. Here is how simple it can be. Once a day, pick one thing you have been avoiding. One thing your brain has labeled as not for you. And try it. Just once. With genuine curiosity. Not to prove anything. Just to collect evidence. Because every time you do this, one of two things happens. Either you discover the belief was right, and you have real evidence now, not just a fear. Or you discover the belief was wrong, and you have a crack in the limiting belief. A crack that lets a little light in. And cracks are where change begins. Over time, these small experiments add up. Each one gives your brain new data. Each one shifts the belief a little further from limiting to liberating. And gradually, without one dramatic moment, your life starts to look different. Not because the world changed overnight. Because your beliefs changed one small test at a time. Dashrath Manji did not cut the mountain in one swing. Remember the man from chapter 9? Dashrath Manji. The man who cut a road through a mountain with a hammer and chisel. 22 years. Every single day. One swing at a time. People asked him why he kept going. He said, I believed the mountain would give way. He did not say, I knew it would happen. He did not say, I had proof. He said, I believed. And he kept working. Because when you believe something is possible, stopping feels like betrayal. It feels wrong. Your whole body resists giving up. Because the belief is still alive inside you. That is what a liberating belief does. It does not just make you feel good. It keeps you going when everything around you says stop. It keeps you swinging the hammer when the mountain seems endless. It keeps you swimming like the rescued rats when rescue feels far away. It keeps you searching like David Fajgenbaum when the doctors have run out of answers. Keeps you standing on that stage like the person who believed they were not capable. Until one day they were. Your belief is the first swing. Everything else follows from that. You are not your past beliefs. Here is something that matters deeply. The beliefs you had before reading this book are not your identity. They were tools. Tools you picked up a long time ago. Tools that served a purpose at some point. They protected you. They helped you make sense of things. They were the best tools you had available at the time. But you have better tools now. And you are allowed to put the old ones down. You are not betraying yourself by thinking differently. You are not being unrealistic or naive. You are doing exactly what the human brain was designed to do. Updating, learning, growing. The brain is not fixed. Scientists call this neuroplasticity. Your brain changes, physically and structurally, based on what you think and do. New beliefs create new pathways. New pathways create new possibilities. New possibilities create a new life. You are not too old for this. You are not too damaged for this. You are not too far gone for this. The brain is always ready to build something new. The only question is, are you ready to give it new material? The world needs your liberating beliefs. Here is something Nir Eyal says that stays with you long after you close this book. Your beliefs do not only affect you, they affect everyone around you. The parent who believes their child is capable raises a child who believes in themselves. The leader who believes their team can grow builds a team that actually grows. The friend who believes you are stronger than you think says the one thing that changes how you see yourself. Beliefs spread. From person to person. From generation to generation. When you shift yours, you shift the air around you. You become someone who sees potential where others see problems. Who stays calm where others panic. Who keeps going where others stop. And the people around you feel that. They rise to meet the belief you carry about them. Your liberating beliefs are not just a gift to yourself. They are a gift to every person you will ever meet. This is not the end, it is a starting point. You have now completed Beyond Belief by Nir Eyal. But this is not where the journey ends. This is where it starts. The book gave you the science. The book gave you the stories. The book gave you the framework. Now the work is yours. Find the limiting belief that is costing you the most. Write it down. Question it. Test it. Replace it with something more liberating. And then live from that belief. One day at a time. One decision at a time. One small experiment at a time. Because your limits are not written in stone. They are written in belief. And beliefs can be rewritten. The door is not locked. It was never locked. The only thing that was ever in the way was a belief that said it was. Now you know better. Now you can go further. Now you can go beyond belief. This was the final chapter of Beyond Belief by Nir Eyal. Thank you for being part of this entire journey with Bookverse. If this series changed the way you see yourself, please share it with one person who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Bookverse for more book summaries just like this one. Every book we cover is chosen to give you something real, something you can actually use in your life. We will see you in the next one. And remember, what you believe is what you become. Choose wisely.